G'day YouTube, welcome to my channel. It is May 26, 2023, and today I will be showing you how to install and test Kraken. But before we start, I need to preface this with a very strong disclaimer. This video is being made for the purposes of education and experimentation only. IMSI-CATCHING, SMS-SNIFFING, and voice call interception on cellular networks is illegal and punishable by hefty fines and imprisonment. You have been warned. So this video has been anticipated for quite a while now. I have had countless emails and comments requesting assistance in installing Kraken and setting up a Rainbow Tables hard drive. As far as I can see, the only other Kraken video installation tutorial on YouTube appears to be that of the crazy Danish hacker. While his tutorial is good and helped guide me to a successful Kraken installation, his knowledge and usage of Linux far exceeds that of the occasional user, such as myself. His hacking skills appear to be at such a high level that he works far too quickly, and I found it hard to follow along with his YouTube video tutorials. Additionally, he uses a very small font in his Linux terminal, so it makes it very difficult to see what commands he is typing in and view the output. So with all those minor criticisms to an otherwise good video aside, what I'm going to do is use a very large font size in my terminal and slow everything down a bit and clearly explain every step in the compilation and installation process of the A51 cracking software utility known as Kraken. But first, let me explain what Kraken is exactly. It is a software utility for Linux that is used for obtaining the encryption key, also called the KC value, used for securing GSM wireless communications that are being downlinked from a 2G base transceiver station to a mobile subscriber's phone. A key hardware component of a working Kraken setup is a storage device of at least 1.6 terabytes, containing 40 rainbow tables. The concept of rainbow tables is far beyond my knowledge of cryptology, so I won't attempt to explain exactly how they work. However, the information is out there should you wish to research the concept further. So with all that said, I'll quickly detail the hardware and software requirements needed for setting up and installing Kraken. The first thing we need obviously is a working computer of some kind. Could be a PC tower or a laptop. We just need to be able to run Dragon OS Linux on something. Your computer will also need an active internet connection. Next, we will need a storage device of at least 1.7 terabytes. I will label this as the source drive because it will contain the 40 rainbow table files with the extension .dlt. I'm using this external hard drive as my source drive, which was purchased from hackerwarehouse.com in the United States. It is sold with the 40 rainbow table DLT files preloaded onto it. This is a good option if you don't have an internet connection fast enough to download 1.6 terabytes in a reasonable amount of time. The source drive doesn't have to be an external USB drive either. It could also be your PC's internal SSD, for example. You just need to be able to store the 1.6 terabytes of rainbow tables somewhere. Next, we will need a second storage device with a capacity of at least 1.6 terabytes. I will label this as the destination drive because it will have the 40 rainbow table.dlt files written to it in raw format. Because the rainbow tables are written in raw format to the destination drive, this storage device will be inaccessible via a file browser and will appear corrupted to everything else except Kraken. This is completely normal. I will take a moment to explain that it is not possible to store the 40 rainbow table.dlt files and write them in raw format to the same storage device. This is what the crazy Danish hacker doesn't explain clearly enough. If you try to use the same storage device to store and write the rainbow tables to, you will lose all of your downloaded .dlt rainbow table files and corrupt the storage device. This happened to me twice, and I had to download the rainbow tables 2 separate times. In fear of my internet service provider phoning me up to lecture me about excessive usage if I tried to download the rainbow tables for a third time, I opted to buy a rainbow tables external hard drive from Hacker Warehouse instead. So that's about all we need on the hardware side of things now. I will just detail quickly the software required for installing Kraken. First of all, we need Dragon OS Focal X 30.2. We need it running on bare metal, either installed directly on your PC's internal system drive or running from a bootable USB. I'm uncertain if Kraken and the rainbow tables writing process will work on virtualization, but I always recommend running Linux natively on your hardware without virtualization. If you aren't a regular Linux user like myself, you can make a bootable Dragon OS USB thumb drive. Lastly, we will need to acquire the 40 rainbow table files with the .dlt extension. These are roughly 40 gigabytes in size and have 3 numbers as their file name. This is probably the hardest step in the process of compiling and installing Kraken. There's 4 methods of doing this that I can think of, ranked from easiest to hardest. The first and easiest method would be to arrange a meeting with someone in your local area who would be willing to copy the 40 rainbow table files to a storage device that you provide. The second method, while not exactly difficult, will cost some money, and that is to purchase the rainbow tables external hard drive from Hacker Warehouse. The third method would be to download the rainbow tables using BitTorrent. I rank this method as quite difficult because it takes quite a long time to download all the files in the modern day due to a lack of seeders, even on a fast internet connection. You can download all the torrent files from this page here. Scroll down to the bottom to download an archive of all 40 torrent files to save you from having to download them all individually. I'm not going to explain how to use BitTorrent. That should be common knowledge to most viewers of my channel. A good BitTorrent client that installs perfectly on Dragon OS Focal X is Transmission. The fourth and most difficult method of obtaining the rainbow tables would be to generate them yourself. Please don't comment asking me how to do this, as I have no idea. Sorry. But a good place to start would be to Google about gentable.py, which is included inside the Kraken directory. Before you consider this option, please remember that it took the original A51 decryption project team an entire month to generate the rainbow tables on 4 separate computers running multiple GPUs. The power consumption and the amount of time it will take on a single computer make this option obsolete, in my opinion. So with all that being said, let's proceed to the practical segment of this tutorial now. So I'll just set the scene hardware-wise for myself now. This is the Hacker Warehouse external hard drive. This is my new upgraded Rainbow Tables drive, which is installed here. And this was my old Rainbow Tables hard drive, which is a 5,400 RPM NAS drive. So as you can imagine, not the fastest thing in the world for doing cryptology stuff. So yeah, let's get on with the practical. If you haven't done so already, we need to open up a terminal window. This is where we will type our commands into, and if you want, open up a file manager window and browse to your home directory, but that's not strictly necessary. The first command we will need to type into our terminal window is this one. For the longer commands, I'm going to copy and paste them, but I will leave them on the screen for a little while so you can pause the video to transcribe them, or most of the time I put all the commands I run in the description so you can easily copy and paste them. So we will just hit enter on that. This will download the Kraken source code from GitHub into our home directory in preparation for building and installing it. After that is finished downloading, we change directory into the Kraken folder with the following command. So we type cd for change directory, space, and then type Kraken, hit enter. And then finally, we attempt to compile Kraken with this command. We type make space no ATI and hit enter. Whoops, I spelled it incorrectly. Make no ATI. And we can see that the build fails. Don't worry, I was anticipating this and I know how to rectify it. This is an error related to an obsolete framework that is no longer supported by Linux, but we can fool the compiler by creating a dummy file with this command. And we just hit enter on that. And then we will attempt to build Kraken again by typing make space no ATI and hit enter. If anybody's wondering, this is my main PC that I do all of my radio, RF, and hacking stuff on. It is a dual E5 Xeon machine. It's very nice for doing cryptology and RF hacking stuff. And we can see that the build process completed successfully. We have no errors in the console output. So far, so good. Before we can configure a Rainbow Tables drive, we can confirm that Kraken is functioning correctly on our hardware. And the way we do that is we type cd for change directory, type a5 underscore CPU, hit enter, and then we run the following command. We type // because we are about to run a binary from the console. A5 CPU underscore test. And then we hit enter on that. And we will see that it appears as though Kraken is successfully doing its thing. So far, so good. So now we have reached the portion of the tutorial where we will set up our Rainbow Tables storage device. Using the file manager window, we need to browse inside the Kraken directory. And then we browse to the indexes folder. Oh, for some reason my file browser is acting very weird, but that's okay. So we browse to the indexes folder contained within the Kraken directory. Then we need to right click on this config file. We copy it. We paste it into the same directory, and we remove the .sample text from the file name and hit rename. Now we will need to open the tables.conf file with a text editor. Featherpad's a very nice and easy to use text editor included in Dragon OS. In this config file, we will point Kraken to the storage device in which we want the rainbow tables written to in raw format. Here is the default example config file. We can see that it specifies 4 different storage devices containing 10 rainbow tables each. Caution must be taken when configuring your storage devices. If you specify the wrong hard drive by accident, all of your data will be lost in the disk writing process by Kraken. So I'll just take this opportunity to add another disclaimer. I will not be held responsible for any error you make or data you lose while following this Kraken installation tutorial video. The only safe way to ensure you are configuring the correct storage device for rainbow table writing is to run Dragon OS from a bootable USB thumb drive and physically disconnect all hard drives in your PC by pulling out the SATA cables, for example. So this PC has a main system drive and my main storage drive here. I've actually physically disconnected the SATA and power cables from both of these drives, and only the destination SSD drive is connected. So with that being said, let's proceed with caution to identify To identify the label of your desired destination drive, we can run the following command. We type sudo parted, and we send it the L argument for list, and we hit enter on that. And in the terminal, parted prints out the output showing you all the devices currently visible to Dragon OS Linux. The 2 terabyte SSD that will become my Rainbow Tables drive is labeled as SDA. And because I want all 40 of the rainbow tables written to my Samsung SSD, I'll amend the config file by deleting the 3 bottom lines. And then I'll proceed to amend the device label that reflects that of my Samsung SSD, which is SDA. So I will remove the 1. And then finally, we delete the number 10 and write 40 instead. This configuration file now specifies that 40 rainbow tables will be written to a single storage device with the label SDA. Once these changes have been made, we can go ahead and save the document and close the text editor window. Now that we've configured Kraken to write the rainbow tables in raw format to our destination drive, we need to change directory into Kraken's indexes folder with the following command. We type cd to return to our home directory, and then we type cd space Kraken / indexes. Inside this directory, a script called behemoth.py exists. We'll utilize it to write the rainbow tables to the destination drive in raw format. This step will probably take a long time to complete depending on your PC specifications and the type of storage you are using. At this point, I recommend double checking your tables.com file and ensuring that you have configured everything correctly. To initiate the rainbow table writing process, I will run the following command. I have to copy and paste this one because it's quite long. So we type sudo for super user, Python 2 because the Kraken tools are quite old and they will not work in Python 3. We type the name of the Python script, and then you can copy and paste the absolute path of your DLT files like so. So we'll hit enter on that. And once we have confirmed that the process has initiated without any errors, we can leave our computer alone for a few hours and let it do its thing. I'll change over to the browser now and set a timer because I'm interested in seeing the difference in the time taken with an SSD compared to my old NAS hard drive. So I'll take this opportunity to pause the video recording, drink a beer for my hard work, and go and hang out with my wife for a while. Cheers.